Radhe Krishna, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. Welcome to the Bhakti Rahasyam episode number 30. After taking a break from the active Thirukkolur Penpillai Rahasyam for the last 2 weeks, where we enjoyed the secrets of Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, and an attempt of how we could make use of those philosophies in our day-to-day lives. We are back with Thirukkolur Penpillai's soulful comparisons. Now, Thirukkolur Penpillai feels that she is so little devoted as compared to the great devotees of the past. Such is a lesson of humility to be learnt from Thirukkolur Penpillai, who, in spite of knowing so many things, so many facts, and having practiced those in her day-to-day life, she felt that she was nothing when compared to the great devotees. So there is a lesson of humility for all of us who at the slightest opportunity try to brag about our achievements, want to showcase more and more. And here was a lady who, in spite of infinite wisdom, she went ahead in her life as if she was no one. So salutations to Thirukkolur Penpillai. So what we come to know from various episodes of Thirukkolur Penpillai is that self-pride and ego are two biggest impediments in the path of devotion. If a person is devoid of self-pride or ego, the path of devotion comes naturally to him or her. It's a bit easier task. So one should try to avoid this at all costs, that is self-pride and ego, if one were to proceed or be more successful in the path of bhakti. So today we are going to see about a person who gave up his pride, his ego, and went to any extremes to do devotion or bhakti. Is he from Ramayana? No. Is he from Mahabharata? No. So he is one of the great Azhwars. Now, if you can recall, Azhwars were great Vishnu devotees, 12 in number, and we have seen about a lot of Azhwars in Thirukkolur Penpillai's Bhakti comparisons itself in the past episodes. So, about today's Azhwar, Thirukkolur Penpillai makes a Bhakti comparison statement to Swami Ramanuja. Did I feel the Lord by biting him like Thirumangai Alvar? Wow, what an experience. So who was this Thirumangai Alvar and why did he bite the Lord and feel him? So that's what we are going to see in our today's episode. So Thirumangai Alvar, he was actually a commander-in-chief in one of the kingdoms in the southern part of India. He was known for his bravery and courage, and his mere presence used to create terror in the enemy's minds and hearts. Such a valiant fighter he was. Now, because of his great deeds, the king honored him by making him a ruler of a small place called Thirumangai. This place Thirumangai is in the southern part of India. So, being the ruler of Thirumangai, he got the name Thirumangai Mannan. Mannan in Tamil means ruler. So Thirumangai Mannan is the ruler of the place called Thirumangai. Now, Thirumangai Mannan was having a flamboyant attitude. So he also had great power. Now it was coupled with position, and that made him totally invincible. He had fondness for women, so he was not a devotee right from the start. So what happens once is he hears about a very beautiful lady called Kumudavalli, who is in the nearby place. Now he expresses his desire to marry her. He goes to her place. He informs her father that he wants to marry Kumudavalli. Now the father, he gave that choice to Kumudavalli that she could select her own husband. Now this was back many years ago, where women had that freedom and choice. Now Kumudavalli was a smart lady. What she mentioned was she would marry a person provided he fulfilled two of her conditions. One is he should be a Vishnu devotee. That means he should be formally into the fold of a tradition called Shri Vaishnavism. So he should be following the tradition of Shri Vaishnavism, which is one of the paths of Vishnu devotion. So, and she also has a second condition which I'll be mentioning a bit later. So Thirumangai Mannan says, "Oh, is that all? You just want me to become a Vishnu devotee? That's it, right? So you want me to be initiated into the tradition of Shri Vaishnavism. Fine, I'll do that." He goes out in search of the saints and sages who follow Shri Vaishnavism and requests them to initiate him into this tradition. Initiating would mean that one needs to follow a ritual called Pancha Samskara. So those are 5 procedures and practices which one must follow in their day-to-day lives to be regarded as the follower of Shri Vaishnavism. But those elders, those saints, they know his nature, so they refuse to initiate him into this tradition, fearing that he would bring a bad name because of his nature and attitude and his fondness. So Thirumangai Mannan is a bit frustrated that there is no support from the community, and as open-minded and frank he is, he straight away goes to a temple of Vishnu. Now Thirumangai Mannan never had any practice of visiting temples regularly or following any devotional practice or service. This was maybe the first time he would have stepped into the temple. So he directly goes and talks to the idol of Vishnu. That he explains his facts and circumstances clearly. He says, "Look, I am impressed by this lady Kumudavalli and I want to marry her. But she won't marry anyone who is not a Shri Vaishnava. So I want you to initiate me into the tradition. Nobody is doing this to me. So I have come to you." Now Lord Vishnu was stunned for a moment that even in this age of Kali Yuga, there was someone who voluntarily came and expressed his desire to become a Sri Vaishnava, no matter what his intention was. But Lord Krishna, being the ultimate, he had his own plans for Thirumangai Mannan. So he assumed the form of an acharya or a guru or a master and initiated him into the fold of Shri Vaishnavism. So Thirumangai Mannan is elated. He doesn't even stop to thank him or do something devotional. He is happy, his objective is achieved. Now he can go and marry Kumudavalli. So he rushes to her and says he is now a Shri Vaishnavite and she needs to marry him. That's when she puts forth her second condition. She says, okay, condition number 1 fulfilled. Condition number 2 is, I will marry only that person who commits that he would feed at least 1,000 Vishnu saints with food service every day. Now, Thirumangai Mannan doesn't think twice. He says, consider this to be done. Is there any other condition or can we go ahead with the marriage? So, trusting his commitment, Kumudavalli accepts the marriage. They get married and immediately the food service or Annadana for the saints starts. Now, he did start this service with a desire in his heart, that is to marry Kumudavalli, but slowly this devotional service of serving the Vishnu devotees start bringing some transformation in the heart of Thirumangai Mannan. So somehow he makes this service as his life's center point and he goes ahead with this. Now slowly the wealth starts dwindling as he is engaged in this service. Then a time comes when he has to resort to the tax collections, tax money, which he is supposed to deposit with the king of that place. He goes ahead with that. That also dwindles, and now he is left with no other option, because imagine feeding 1,000 saints every day would involve a huge cost even in today's time. It's not a one-time activity, but he was doing it daily along with Kumudavalli. So left with no other option, he resorts to the Robin Hood way. That is, he goes into the forest with 4 or 5 of his accomplices and he starts waylaying wealthy people, wealthy merchants, and starts looting their money and comes back and uses that money to feed the saints. Now it so happens that Lord Vishnu, he had initiated him into this tradition with a plan in his mind, with a divine plan. So it was time to execute that plan for Lord Vishnu. He wanted to show the greatness of Thirumangai Mannan to the entire world. It so happens that on a particular day when Thirumangai Mannan is in the forest waiting for some catch, the day slowly passes by and he is not able to spot a single party whom he could loot. So he is a bit tensed because he doesn't have the wealth for the next day, and he says a silent prayer that the devotees should not go unfed. It is now the right time for Lord Vishnu to enter the scene. So he, along with his consort Lakshmi Devi, they take the form of a newly wed bride and groom, and they pass by that forest with a huge group of people following them. So those people are none other than the Devas who are in the service of Lord Vishnu. So Thirumangai Mannan and his gang, they are seated at the top of a tree. So they see this commotion over a long distance, and that's when he is elated. He says, yes, it seems to be a big grand party, so why not loot them once and for all, so that I don't want to do all these petty things again and again. One big swipe and I'm done for the rest of my life. That was the feeling which comes in the mind of Thirumangai Mannan. So the moment the bride and the groom, they come nearby, he jumps from the tree. So the bride, Lord Vishnu in disguise, he appears to be a bit stunned and frightened, and what Thirumangai Mannan does is he comes straight to the point. He says, you all are wearing nice costly jewels, gems, so you have to deposit it here in order to pass by this particular place. So he lays a cloth on the ground and asks everyone to deposit their jewels on that cloth, on that piece of cloth. So one by one, everyone is just putting their jewels. It appears to be a small hill of jewels and gems. So the moment comes where Thirumangai Mannan then does a complete receive. That is, he sees the groom from the top of his head to the bottom of his toe. That is, he is seeing Vishnu from the top to the bottom to ensure that he has left nothing on him and he has deposited everything. So that's when Thirumangai Mannan notices that there is a ring, a shining ring, a sparkling ring on the toe of the groom. So he asks the groom, wait, this one sparkling jewel is not removed, so you are not going ahead without removing this. So the groom says, okay, you can try to remove it. It is actually very tight, so I can't do it by myself. So Thirumangai Mannan says, is that so? So he gets down, he takes the groom's leg on his feet. So imagine the good fortune, good times of Thirumangai Mannan, that he was placing the Lord's feet on his thigh, and with all his might he tries to remove the ring from his toe, but he is not successful, and he is a bit stunned for a moment that he, being so powerful and so strong, he couldn't even remove a ring from the toe. He feels a bit ashamed. But the touch of the Lord's feet is enough to start the process of removing all the darkness and bringing a complete transformation. Yet he is still not transformed. This is just a process. And that's when the groom, to add fuel to the fire, he puts his hand on Thirumangai Mannan's head and asks, is it so difficult to remove? Thirumangai Mannan just puts his hand away and says, hey, don't touch me, it gives me some different feeling, so don't do that, let me focus on my job. So finally what he resorts to is, since he is not able to pull the ring from the toe with his hand, he finally decides to use his teeth and bite the toe in order to take the ring out. So he does that. When he bites the toe, there is an electrical feeling in him. The taste of the toe is so different. He has never tasted anything like that. And rightfully so, it is the Lord's toe. So when he does this, immediately for a second, because of that feeling, that divine feeling, that electric feeling, he just lifts his head up to see, who is this? At that moment, the groom gives a darshan, a vision as Lord Vishnu, but immediately he disappears and he assumes his groom form. So Thirumangai Mannan thinks that he is imagining things, and he gets on with the work. In one or two attempts, he is able to pull the ring out of the toe with his teeth. So with that piece of success, he puts it on the cloth. He ties the cloth, which has all these precious jewels, thinking that he's done for his lifetime. He tries to take or lift that cloth bag, but he is unable to do so. He is not able to even move the bag even an inch. He gets up and again, with his open-mindedness, frank talking, he comes straight to the point and says to the groom, "Hey, you don't look to be a normal person. You seem to be some kind of a magician who has cast his spell on this bag, because of which I am not able to move. Else I am so powerful, I am so strong. Lifting this is not a problem for me." That's when the groom, who is the ultimate magician, who keeps everyone spellbound with his Maya, he says, "Yes, there is magic behind this fact that you are not able to lift up. There is a mantra. So you need to hear that mantra, you need to recite that mantra in order to lift that bag." And saying so, the groom steps forward and recites the divine mantra, Om Namo Narayana, in the ears of Thirumangai Mannan. That was the ultimate moment, and that's the time where, starting from the Lord's touch of the feet to the point of tasting his toe, to the point where they reach, where the Lord recites this mantra in his ears, the complete transformation happens. He is totally rid of all the darkness and the ignorance which is typically associated with this human life. He is full of bliss now, and that is the time when Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi, they give him a divine vision as per their original form. So Thirumangai Mannan is elated to see this, and that is when he transforms from Thirumangai Mannan to Thirumangai Alvar, the great devotee of Lord Vishnu. So then the story continues with the wealth. He is able to continue his devotional service, and as he becomes an Alvar, he writes a lot of poems, a lot of hymns in the praise of Lord Vishnu, which still exists in the form of Nalayiram Divya Prabandham. So Divya Prabandham is a collection of all divine poems by these 12 Alvars, and Thirumangai Alvar also has played a great role or contribution in those collection of hymns. So this is the incident which Thirukkolur Penpillai catches. She laments, "Oh, am I Thirumangai Alvar? who had that great fortune of feeling the Lord by biting his toe. Did I feel the Lord by biting his toe? No. So where am I? I am no match for a great devotee like Thirumangai Alvar. So what is the message from this episode for us if we see the life of Thirumangai Mannan turned Thirumangai Alvar? He was relentless in his efforts. Later, he continued those relentless efforts in carrying out or fulfilling some noble cause. And what did he expect in return? Nothing. Yes, initially he had certain liking, certain fondness, and that was one of the triggers for him to get into the path of devotion. But once he was into it, it was a complete life-changing event, a transformation in him. So relentless efforts plus doing or pursuing a noble cause plus no expectations is equal to ultimate bliss in terms of experiencing the Lord as Thirumangai Alvar did. So that was all from our Bhakti Rahasyam episode number 30, where we saw this interesting story of Thirumangai Alvar and the related comparison made by Thirukkolur Penpillai. So do your duties with complete devotion. Stay blessed, stay devoted, and stay tuned for our next Bhakti Rahasyam. Radhe Krishna, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shrimate Ramanujaya Namaha.